Hey everyone. So, yeah, this is the chapter where the truth comes out, where Taro learns Akira's full name is Akira, the relative of Taro's old classmate and friend. And at this point, I think it's fair to say Akao is Akira's aunt, since she didn't mention, since all the evidence kind of supports it in the fact that Akira hasn't mentioned any siblings, and she said before both of her parents were against the idea of becoming an assassin. So this Akao isn't one of her parents either. So again, that only leaves the one conclusion of Akao is Akira's aunt. Now, for me, the fascinating part about how this reveal was in a what the fascinating part for me is how this reveal was handled, because in a few choice words from Akira saying she followed the path, and Tara recalling the words of a cow saying something in line with that about how gazing into a person's eyes reveals the pathway to killing them, that there's a lot to glean from that, in the fact that not only is it kind of a cool badass like sort of philosophy towards assassination, but it kind of also reveals that just in how Akira had handled that guy, it kind of reveals that that Akira did receive some form of like rudimentary training from her aunt, but the thing, which in itself says a lot about a cow and about a cow herself, and it wouldn't be surprised if like the fighting style Akira used to kill that man might have also been something a cow's might have also been maybe a cow's signature way of assassination. With that said, though, I'll with that being said, I'll be curious what direction Taro goes from here in terms of how he interacts with Akira, because I think he had no problem helping to foster her skills before, but now that he knows she's related to a cow, I'm imagining we are going to start to see Taro shift emotional gears a bit and try to do everything to protect her and keep her out of harm's way, out of fear for her life, and to prevent her dying kind of like her aunt like you did. And I'd even go so far as to say maybe he even tries to deter her away from the path of an assassin, but at the end of the day, does this does open up an avenue to really explore what Taro knows about a cow and just what happened in the past. Like, it's almost a guarantee she's dead, but it's kind of filling in those gaps of what happened that matter right now. And in that context, I do want to circle in on Akira though right now for a minute, because one thing that did stick out to me is the little flashback in Akira's mind of her aunt telling Akira she'll be okay. Like, as now this complicates things a bit, because although this flashback is mostly presented in the context of acting as a motivating factor for Akira to jump into action, the vibe I'm picking up just based on that little moment in isolation is Akira doesn't know what happened to her aunt, but Taro does. And on one hand, this is giving the impression that things are going to play out in the worst possible scenario I imagine them to play out, which is a complete misunderstanding of what happened. And I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but the more I'm thinking about it, I'd be willing to bet this is also setting up for another, you could say, confrontation with Uzuki, and specifically Uzuki and Akira, a confrontation between Uzuki and Akira learning all of the gruesome details from him and some about what really happened that day, and 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 how he's the one who killed a cow. Like, I can't say anything with certainty yet until we see it happen, but it does feel like the chapter is at least laying the groundwork for a confrontation like that to happen. And if that does happen, the question then becomes, how much longer is Taro going to be able to keep what he knows under wraps? Because the fact that he doesn't bring up a cow in casual conversation, clearly there's some trauma there, and a lot of it is tied to the moment in time where he thought he had killed Uzuki, like, and how a cow is tied to that. So in order to get like a full picture, we pretty much do need a backstory in getting the full context of what happened between Taro, Akao, and Uzuki, because these three characters are basically linked together somehow, for sure. Um, outs Outside of the Akao stuff, though, I'm not gonna lie, I actually laughed when it was, on a lighter note, I actually kind of laughed when it was revealed that it's thanks to Taro's apron that they survived. Like, I didn't know why, but I don't know why, but I keep forgetting about Taro's, like, apron and how it's indestructible, but every time I see it, it is the most epically hilarious thing in the series, and the best running, and the best running joke in the series as well. And like it's one of those things it's not only a cool gag, but it's actually a very cool in-universe tool as well. Like I had, as again, I forgot where it was said specifically at all, but if at all, but again, Taro's apron is basically custom made to withstand explosions and heavy fire. Like it's one of those things where, of all things, an apron is the thing that basically that protects Taro. Like I don't know why, it's just kind of a cool gag. It's kind of a cool gag and how you look at it from an in-universe perspective. Of course, on the other end of that, we also have the situation with Now and realizing how much of a crazed fan she is of Sakamoto. Like is Lady is definitely on the level of those crazed fans who basically obsess over their favorite celebrity. Although this does kind of beg the question, just what exactly is going to happen when she learns the current version of Taro Sakamoto is much different than the one she has in her head. Like, that's gonna be probably the funniest and scariest thing about part of this, considering she does have this very specific idea of Taro in her head. But I get the feeling it's one of those things where when she does finally see what Taro looks like now, if that ever happened, it's gonna be one of those things where, oh, you're basically a fatty now. You're basically not worth my time or some like, I'm just imagining that shit happening. That it's gonna be something along the lines of that. Like again, she has this she's very descriptive in how she views Taro. So it's like when she sees what he actually is, I get the feeling it's all setting up for one of the most hilarious, like, oh, this is what you're like now? Yeah, you're not worth my time kind of thing. Like, I just get the feeling that's what this is. Although until then, although I guess until then, she is Shin and Mafuyu's problem, and since the latter has the biggest mouth imaginable, it's fair to say he definitely screwed them over a little by actively insulting her. And, you do this. There's one thing I know for sure: you do not stick your dick in crazy, and in this case, you basically do not anger a crazed fan. Like that is rule number one with this shit. And with someone this obsessed, yeah, Mafuyu, you just screwed everything up. I'm just saying that right now. I'm sorry, my boy, but you did. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe from my Blue Sky, analyze Crunchyroll, be sure to click your bell, the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of the Night signing off. Later, everyone.